Hey, since we're on the topic here, since we're talking about this game, one of the things I have at the end of the pod is the team with the most to prove over the course of the next 2 months. Is the question I was going to ask you guys, and I'm just going to get into it now. I had North Carolina as the team with the most to prove for a couple of different reasons, but for me, it's
Uh-oh.
more
Uh-oh, Rob.
than
Uh-oh,
anything
Rob.
else.
Uh-oh,
And I'm
Rob. Uh-oh, Rob. Uh-oh, Rob. We didn't get any of that. We
I'm
didn't get
back. I'm
any of
back.
that,
I'm back.
Rob.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. The team with the most to
Yep. Go
prove
ahead.
over the course of the next 2 months is something that I had at the. I was scheduling out for the end of the show, but I figure we'll just get into it now since we're on the topic, right? And the bigger question is kind of like Hubert Davis and where you stand. And I know they talked about this a little bit last night. And T, I'll go to you first, and Finn, I want your opinion on this as well. Um, they were disappointing in 21-22 and made a run to the national championship game, right? Heading into 22-23 as the number one team in the country, go 20-13 overall, disappointing year, right? In 23-24, no real expectations, come out, end up being a top 5 team in America, number 1 seed, make to the Sweet 16. This year, it was kind of like the middle of the road, right? No one really thought that they were going to be a ACC championship contender, and they have not looked like an ACC championship contender so far this year. So, like, I don't know where to go on Hubert right here. Like, how have you been impressed with his tenure? Is this something where you think it's satisfactory for North Carolina to
Hey,
kind
hold
of
on,
be up and
man.
down like this?
They were in the preseason poll. They were projected to be second behind Duke.
Yeah. Did anyone have him winning it?
11 people had first place votes. This is a media day, obviously. Some people don't know what the hell they're doing. They just happen to be there. So the 11 people had first place votes for North Carolina because you bring RJ back. You have the fastest backcourt of country. We'll see how that works out. Just before I address Hubert, we'll address the team. Louisville just threw the ball over the top yesterday. You couldn't switch. Like, they tried to switch, and then they would just go and stand near the rim and just throw it up there. And then Hadley would get it, or James Scott would get it, or whoever, Ansel Ebe would get it. It was too easy. And like we've kind of said before, like, that size discrepancy is so difficult. And if you're not super flying around on the floor there and really aware of what the other team's doing, size matters, dude. Like, in the college basketball, size matters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that, the answer is not necessarily there. As far as things to prove, like, we kind of know what North Carolina is right now, and we know what they're going to be in the future, just simply because, like, we've already seen it against high-level competition. We've seen what they're capable of. We've seen where their weaknesses are. So as far as enough to prove, like, they're just going to have to be on the right side of lucky in order to make the tournament this year. And, a win at a loss at Louisville, I don't think by the end of the year is going to be a terrible loss. But at the same time, like, they're going to have to be on the right side of happy a lot more. And what I mean by that is they're going to have to hit a lot of threes. They're going to have to score a lot of points. Ian Jackson has been awesome to watch. I thought he was great yesterday. I've kind of been on the fence on him. I thought yesterday he was great. Over the 2 games prior to that, he was great. I'm no longer on the fence. He is very good. It's just I don't know where the answers are, and there has to be some additions in front court. As far as Hubert's concerned, he's never won less than 20 games, even in their down year where they didn't make the tournament. He made it to a national championship game. What are you going to do? There's a lot of people, and Carolina fans are fickle. They feel like they need to win 30 games every year. I get that. How do you get rid of? I don't know how you do it. This is just a matter of
less getting rid of him.
This is a wake up call to Hubert if he wants to keep this job. That's a big if. If he wants to keep doing what he's doing, this is a wake up call for him to, like, hey, I'm going to have to change how I approach recruiting transfers. I'm going to have to be a little bit more bendable as far as paying these guys. And the North Carolina name by itself is no longer enough, just because the money coming from other places is so substantial. Mm-hmm. I don't think I think if Hubert wants to stay, he can stay. I'm not on the fire Hubert train at all.
I'm not saying fire Hubert at all. Like, let's put this. How do you view his tenure so far, and kind of put it into context more than, like, we need to start getting on the fire Hubert Davis on the hot seat bandwagon?
No, roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. Inconsistent. Some real positives. Making a national championship game, obviously huge. Well, look at that season itself. That season entering the tournament had been, up and down and some concerns and never able to really be consistent.
And they were an 8-9. They
Yeah.
played in the 8-9 game in that year.
They sure did. As for last night, that's not a bad loss. Louisville, Look at the net. They're 50th. I mean, they're 50 in the net. They're not dead either. And Carolina doesn't have any bad losses. They don't. I've been called a Carolina, hater, critic, whatever you want to say. I tell it like it is. North Carolina doesn't have a good front court. And it's hard to believe that I say that about a blue blood. And it's because the personnel is just not in a place where it's strong enough. And this has been a recurring issue throughout the season. They're also a team within a game that you don't know what you're getting from one segment to another. So, and no Seth Trimble, obviously that's tough, right? He's a really talented player. But they have 6 losses. All of them are in Q1. I give them credit for playing 8 quad 1 games to this point. In fact, guys, from my scanning, North Carolina has played the most quadrant 1 games of any team in the country. That is the truth. I just went through it all. And of high majors, because a bye game team that's a low major might have played more. Carolina has by far nobody's played. I think only one team's played 7. They've played 8. So, there's time. And could they win 7 of 8 in this version of the ACC? Yes, and it also might take that to make sure that they're in the NCAA tournament. I'll be critical when they no-show on the road somewhere and take a quad 3 loss. Because then when you take a loss like that, that's where coaching, that's where all these issues can really arise. Losing at Louisville, not a bad loss. It's a loss. It's a game that you were in late. Louisville's a good basketball team. They've been inconsistent, but they're under a first-year head coach, and they've been very injured. But to me, it's not hot seat, Hubert. It's okay, Hubert. In your next offseason, you've got to build this out better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
How about Cam? Cam goes quality losers at UNC. North Carolina is supposed to win. Also true.
Quality losers at UNC.
Also true. Also true.
Yes.
North Carolina is supposed to win. Also true. But
right.
to say that there's some voices that are pretty loud about Hubert right now in the Carolinas. Having lived in the Carolinas, people are not happy. However, it's just not time. It's just not time. I think there's an adaptation process that needs to take place in the offseason. And if he wants to continue doing it, he has the job next year. It's up to him.
I think the way that I would phrase it is that the consistency level has not been up to North Carolina's standards. And despite that, he has enough results that have been good enough that you shouldn't even be in the realm of a conversation about firing him at this point.
They could very easily, you look up in a couple of weeks and they're 15-6.
Yeah.
Look at they're playing at Notre Dame. Notre Dame has some real problems. Marcus Burton's been hurt, hadn't played in a long time. They're not going to be. You want to talk about a team with not a lot of size? Notre Dame fits that. They could win SMU at home. SMU's better than people realize, but they could win at home. At NC State, Cal at home, Stanford at home, Wake Forest away. That'll be a big one, but it's a winnable game. And then Boston College at home.
Yeah, I think they'll reel off 7 in a row. And you reel off 7 in a row.
Then all of a sudden you're 15-6, and it's like
very different conversation.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's nothing to panic about.